Hey guys, been quite some time since the last Higurashi release on Steam. This is Chapter 8. So, yeah, let's go ahead and give it a start. I think it's for the main series. I can't remember if this one was the last one or the next one was the last one. I can't remember if there was like a spin off or two after this, and this was the last one, I'm not sure. Now, festival accompanying chapter the riddle you've been entrusted with solving now finally becomes unraveled. What must be done to stop the chain, and what will happen in the ultimate end? It's a showdown between conclusion you reached and the one I reached. There's no difficulty, you should understand that now. Okay, that wasn't creepy at all. Everyone is entitled to happiness. The parts accept in that. Everyone is entitled to happiness. The parts of fulfilling that. I too am entitled to happiness. The difficult part is working out a compromise. Frederick Uppercut still. This is a work of fiction, of course. The study was filled with piles of books and papers. In that study, there was a full-figured old man writing something on his desk in the utmost concentration. There was always a little girl sorting out papers in the carpet. She almost looked as though she was playing with them, but this serious expression she was wearing made it clear that she wasn't, or hasn't. Grandpa, I'm done sorting them out. Thank you. Let's see what happened. Look, there are lots of people with the same symptoms. It's way higher than the national average. That's exactly what I expected. There's an intriguing treatise over here too. It discusses psychosurgery and civilization. It also predicts the existence of parasites that inhibit their frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is what causes emotions. That's right, emotions aren't created by the heart. They're just side effects of the chemicals secreted by the organ known as the brain. A parasite capable of acting on that organ did exist and spread to create a colony, then that colony's thoughts would be unified. So are parasites the cause of the spread of ideology? What ideologies clash is that because different parasites are competing to expand their habitat, that or to expand religion, to expand national borders, or to expand a race. It's hypothesized that our different culture communities and their conflict are the result of parasites influencing humans' thoughts. There are people in other countries who think the same thing as you, Grandpa. Of course there are. There are countless parasites on this earth, and as well known that some coexist with their host and some control their host. We've also discovered plenty of parasites that infect humans, yet despite that we adamantly deny the possibility that parasites could infect humans and control their host. Even the hypothesis of such a thing, what do you think that is? Humans aren't special in any way. Because that hypothesis would also mean changing our view to spread the ideologies from the perspective of epidemiology. If conflicts in ideology can be resolved through debate, then they're peaceful. But if those conflicts occur epidemically, they become frightening. And if one to retreat bad thoughts or the spread of a culture is an epidemic, think about the Black Plague in Europe during the Middle Ages. And while infectious disease spread, they forced infected people in hospitals and didn't release them until they were completely recovered. Some even died in those hospitals. They burned their corpses. They confiscated and burned everything those patients touched for fear the plague infected it. They even suspected families of infection and forced them into hospitals. Yeah, that sounds pretty familiar. So they've hospitalized healthy people over individual ideas. Replace an idea with a disease, the rest is the same. Patients won't be released until they completely recover. People burn everything that they may have touched by the patient. They force the patient's family to go to the hospital. People are free to think what they will, alright? Thoughts aren't pests. If an idea was created by parasites, it would be exactly the same as a plague. In other words, an idea is like an incurable epidemic. So you mean anyone with a different idea is treated like they have a disease. That's right. If bringing this to a logical conclusion, parasites could be responsible for mass murders of people belonging to different races or religions. But it can be seen as justifying genocide. Therefore, talking about parasites in brains has been taboo since the war. What does taboo mean? Taboo, whatever. It means something people shouldn't get involved with. That's why nobody researches these things. Nobody remembers anything about parasites that live in the brain. They assume that parasites which control humans simply don't exist. That's almost funny. How can they prove something doesn't exist? That's just impossible. Exactly. Proving that the devil exists is easy. You just have to show him to someone. But you can't prove that he doesn't exist. You can't show somebody something that doesn't exist. It's almost like a parasite and a brand of controlling people so that they can keep their own existence a secret. Me and my grandfather shared a happy laugh together. Humans are simply another animal in this natural world. We might be at the top of the food chain, but it's foolish to think that we are superior to the others. Humans can be controlled by parasites. Just because the existence of such parasites hasn't been proven doesn't mean they don't exist. They exist. I know they do. That's happened before in the scientific world, right? That's right. Not all scientists are recognized for their work while they're alive. There were many who were ridiculed and couldn't prove their theories to be true. But Grandpa, I hope your theory will be recognized before you die. Otherwise, it would be so sad. Don't worry. God doesn't ignore people who work hard. Hard work always pays off in the end. But when won't that happen? Nobody knows when God's going to descend from heaven. Just like you never know when you'll be robbed. So we always have to be alert and ready so that we don't miss our chance. And that was something that my grandfather said all the time. Nobody knows when efforts will bear fruit, but it will happen one day. That's when you must always work hard, so you have no regret when the time comes. Your efforts will bear fruit someday. That's what he meant. But is it going to happen before you die, even though there were so many scientists whose work weren't recognized while they were alive? That was such a cruel thing to say, but I didn't mean to be cruel. I seen how hard my grandfather had been working. I also knew he wouldn't live forever. I just wanted to work to gain his recognition before he died. Do you know of the resurrection of Jesus Christ? Yeah. He was crucified and resurrected after 3 days. You told me about it. How do you think Jesus was resurrected? Didn't he just get up as if he was waking up in the morning? He was buried after his execution, so his body was in the ground. Did he break open the tombstone and crawl out like a zombie? No. That wouldn't be called a resurrection. The sinners who killed Jesus imagined exactly the same thing. Jesus predicted just before he was executed that he would come back to life after 3 days. The sinners buried Jesus, sealed his tomb, and posted guards to watch over it. But what Jesus meant wasn't that he would resurrect physically. He meant his teachings would be resurrected. After 3 days, Jesus' teachings were resurrected and people regained their belief. The hearts of those who wanted to be shown in the proper way revived his teachings. That's what the resurrection of Jesus is all about. He came back to life in the hearts of his believers. Jesus doesn't exist physically on this earth, but he exists in people's hearts. In other words, when Jesus became an existence superior to humans. Well, that's when. Okay. Even if after the author's death, as long as his work receives a fair evaluation, it will live again as his great achievement. Even if my body is gone by then, my life will return and receive recognition. Does that mean you'll become a god just like Jesus did? Indeed, my research will be recognized for what it is someday. That's when I will become a god. That's why I am not in a rush to achieve that recognition. I don't know when that day will come. God doesn't know that either. But the day will come, and that's why I need to continue to work as hard as I can. It was very sad to hear my grandfather say that his life would end one day. He wasn't ill, and he didn't only have a few years left to live, but set next to the average lifespan, his remaining years didn't look like much. The only person left in my The only person left in my life was my grandfather, so I didn't even want to consider what it would be like with him gone. Grandfather must have remembered that I didn't like to talk about the subject. With a tender smile, he gently patted my head. Of course, I want my research to be recognized before I die. I will do my best. Yep, I'll do my best to help you too. I purposely didn't mention the before you die part. I cut myself before I said it. Thank you, that makes me very happy to hear. Grandfather smiled in satisfaction. His research wasn't exactly outrageous. He wasn't trying to uncover the mysteries of the universe. He was the only one researching for the possibility that the parasites could be responsible for human behavior. Nothing more than that. Nothing outrageous. It really wasn't a wild idea. We even had some leads. Hinamazawa Village, Shishiban City, Blank Prefecture. The villagers there are possessed by a powerful homesickness. When they are unable to return, they allegedly behave abnormally, as if they are cursed. There are also some bizarre rules in place in the village based on their belief system. When he was working with the military during the war, my grandfather noticed similarities between the people in Hinamazawa and assumed that some kind of existence was responsible for their odd behavior. He'd been researching ever since then. In the middle of the 20th century, numerous strange diseases were discovered all over Japan. Most of them were caused by infectious parasites, and people started to pay attention to this forgotten field of study. Grandfather's research was simply one of those investigations into such diseases. Therefore, he believed it would be published among other research and obtain recognition soon. But if his research didn't bear fruit before his death, I wanted to continue it. I wanted to continue his research. Grandfather taught me resurrection isn't something that happens physically. It's when your life's work is appreciated. That's what he meant by resurrection. That's when he'll become a god. So when my grandfather dies, he'll still be with me forever. I wouldn't have to be alone ever again. I'll always be with my grandpa. Our works will gain recognition, and we will both become gods, getting eternal peace. I will make my grandfather into a god. I will become a god. Therefore, we will be granted eternity. We'll be together forever and ever. Okay. Okay. As usual, guys, I will be taking a few minute break here. Okay, I am back, and okay. I was looking at the key on the keychain. The key was labeled hen house, but the lock Erica was trying to open didn't belong to that door. It should have opened effortlessly. At least that's what was supposed to happen, but it didn't open. I noticed the heads of sweat forming on Erica's forehead. She was the one who came up with this idea. Erica was starting to panic. The rest of us started to panic too. This only opens the hen house. Let's stop. Let's go back. Shh. We're supposed to be cleaning out the hen house. If they found us back here, if they found out while we were here while we were trying to open up the lock to the back door, and all four of us were sure to be sitting displayed piggy. What did that say? Now four of us should be sitting splayed piggy, whatever that means. Don't panic, Erico. That key opens this lock, right? You already tried it, right? When you shut up for a minute, this is the right key. It's just hard to open, that's all. She was almost shrieking. Our hearts were pounding loudly. It was as though the sound of your heartbeats was echoing throughout the hallway. And at that point, we heard footsteps that didn't belong to a child. Shh, someone's coming. Three of us held our breath, but Erica didn't hear it. But she kept fussing with the lock and the key, as if everything would be okay if she could just open the lock. Erica, somebody's coming. Be quiet. I know this is the right key. I'm not dreaming. I already tried it and it opened. Come on, why is it working? When this lock is open, we can be happy. We can say goodbye to this hell. Erica, someone's coming. Okay. My father and mother died. I don't know exactly how old they were. I was too young to remember. They were shopping without me, and that must have been why they were punished. It was a train accident. We were a terrible disaster. A lot of people died in that incident. But maybe my father was one of the lucky ones. He was still alive when he arrived at the hospital, so he was able to share his final words with me. My mother died instantly. Daddy, 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 daddy. I didn't want to admit that this person I could hardly recognize was my father. As I called out to him, I hoped that it was someone else instead. But unfortunately, it was my father. Maybe I shouldn't have woken him, because when I woke him up, he was reminded of the miserable agony that he had forgotten. Oh, daddy, daddy. He tried to move his right arm so he could pat my head, but his arm was wrapped in bandages and his hand was no longer there. I couldn't find his hand anywhere on the bed. I only had scary memories of his right hand. His main job was to slap me when I did something bad, but I never wished it to be gone. Besides, that hand also patted my head. Even though it only happened a few times, it was a big warm hand, and it struck my head very gently. But no matter what good deeds I did, he could no longer rub my head. No, his hand was the least of his worries. He had gone to emergency surgery. The doctors already warned me that the chance of him surviving was very low. And that was why I was allowed to see him regardless of his condition. Not only could he no longer rub my head, he might be gone forever. Daddy, the surgery will make you better, right? Daddy, you'll get better, right? Right? Listen carefully. Your daddy might not make it. Even if I die, you have to be strong, okay? No, you'll get better. The doctor's going to make you better, so you're not going to die. He was a stubborn, old-fashioned father. He believed endurance was virtue, and he never complained about anything. And that's why I can't believe he would actually say he might not make it. I tried desperately to deny his words, but even that wish wouldn't prolong his life. My father, knowing his time was limited, tried to tell me some other important things. But I interrupted his efforts by crying like a baby. I just wanted him to slap me, just like he used to do every time I cried like a baby, but he would never slap me again. Listen, well, your mother and I both lost all of our family in the war, so after I'm dead, there won't be anyone left to take care of you. You didn't need to tell me that. My parents used to tell me that all the time, so I was aware of the fact. In other words, my father was the only relative I had left in this entire world. If I die, you could count on Dr. Takano, Dr. Hifumi Takano. Can you say it? Hifumi Takano. That's right, Dr. Hifumi Takano. He is my former teacher. He will help you. Daddy. Many doctors came into the room in a hurry. He wanted to tell me something else, but the doctor stopped him from talking, so I wasn't able to hear him. I was kicked out of the room. I didn't know what to do. Nobody told me how my father was doing and when the surgery was going to start. And nobody told me that he was going to be the last conversation I ever had with my father. I think I asked people at the government office about Dr. Takano. They asked me if I knew his phone number. I said I didn't. Then they didn't ask me anything further. Sometimes they told me that they looked into it, but nothing led to anything. They couldn't find me a guardian, so I ended up going to an orphanage. At the time, there were plenty of orphans from the war, so although there were many orphanages around, they were all full. There were also some orphanages run by civilians. I was sent to one of those civilian orphanages. There was no profit to be had in taking an orphan in the first place, so I thought those civilians who were running orphanages must be very good people. I was sure they'd hope that the children would grow in this loving environment and enter into society with a sense of gratitude, but reality isn't so kind. How many children in this world can actually express their gratitude towards their parents in the first place? Children are supposed to be nurtured by their parents' love, and therefore when the environment is destroyed, their hearts are wounded. Every child has his or her own personality. Receiving affection doesn't guarantee that a child will become angelic. Not everyone's heart can be healed. That's why there are some problem kids at the orphanage. Maybe I shouldn't call them problem kids, though. That sadness and despair of losing their parents and the anger at having to hide such feelings filled with those kids' hearts. Spending time eventually with those children could have solved their problems. But the orphanage where I was, the staff members even try to spend time with them or put an effort to understand them. All they could do is make sure that the kids follow the rules. Therefore, they could only see the children's emotional pleas for help as problems. In this world, nobody expresses love without expecting something in return. The person who founded that orphanage was expecting something in return as well. He wanted the children to appreciate him. And that is why such a faint dream was destroyed by cruel reality. The children called the orphanage a prison, and nobody appreciated the staff at all. In fact, all they did was complain. That made the staff slowly realize that love alone couldn't run a facility like this. Just like how the children called it a prison, the staff started to recognize the facility as a prison too. It was a chain reaction resulting from mistrust on both sides. The staff bound the children with rules so they could suppress problem behavior. There was a framed picture of the founder of this orphanage, but I never seen him in person. Was he satisfied with the fact that he put his own money into the social service? Or maybe he finally realized his dream of being surrounded by angelic children being celebrated for what he did was simply that, a dream. I don't know, but there's one thing I'm certain of. Such a dream didn't exist at the orphanage. There were so many rules and several plausible standards outlined for us, but the most valued one was silence. Children's chatter tends to increase each other's volume just like mics drawing closer, and that sometimes leads to fights and disturbance of order. So children were forbidden from speaking with each other. With those disallowed, they must have thought things would go smoothly. However, I think I always heard people's voices at the orphanage. There were two kinds of voices. One was the staff yelling, and the other was children crying. We were not allowed to walk around inside the orphanage freely, so we never knew who it was that was crying. One time along with the crying and yelling, we heard the noise of metallic things being smashed against each other. We knew it was some kind of punishment, but there's no way for us to even imagine what it was. We trembled, pretended we didn't hear anything, and kept working on our assignments. One of my roommates told me it was the casket punishment, but she didn't tell me any further, and I didn't want to know either. Even if we behaved exactly the same way as yesterday, if the staff were in a bad mood, they might pick on us. So even if I didn't want to know, I might certainly find out what the casket punishment is one day. The footsteps of a staff member were getting closer. We noticed them, so we straightened our backs and pretended we were studying hard. It was more important that the staff saw us doing so than actually getting any work done. I noticed the girl next to me was falling asleep, so I poked her with my elbow. She noticed my signal and straightened her back like the other children. It was almost evening. This was the hardest time for us to keep ourselves awake, and the most dangerous time. The door to our room opened, and the mean-looking man showed up. Then he looked around to make sure none of us were falling asleep. And if you were actually studying hard, if you thought we were asleep, you were out. And that's why we had to make sure we appeared to be studying very hard. The man walked around our desks. I hoped he would just walk by me. That was we all prayed as we kept working on our homework. The more we pretended to study hard, the more we could hear the sound of metal objects. The sound of metal objects crashing into each other along with screams. We couldn't even imagine what the poor subject of punishment was going through. Maybe there was something even worse than the casket punishment. To erase such fears, we tried to concentrate even harder on our work. We kept working as the metal sounds, the screams went on forever. Phew, okay. I'm going to take another few minute break, guys. Well, it looks like I'm going to have to edit this back together because I accidentally edited the original recording. Great. Anyways, the only time okay, the only time we were allowed to exchange words with roommates was right after turning the lights off to go to bed. Being located in the middle of the mountains, the orphanage was very quiet at night. After making sure the staff members were far enough from our room, we enjoyed talking amongst ourselves. That's what the only leisure time we were allowed to us, though it wasn't anything nice like enjoying pleasant conversation. Why? Because we mostly talked about others behind our backs. We spoke of things like that member of staff is only strict or unfair or malicious towards this person, and so on. We just repeated those topics forever until someone couldn't keep themselves awake anymore. We even discussed how we could get back at the staff, and we took our revenge on all of them in our imagination. Some kids even started crying when they talked about it. It was difficult as it was for us, so although the subjects we spoke of were negative, talking about them was one way to vent our frustration, and even though we felt despair about tomorrow, we were able to fall asleep. When sometimes a different subject popped up. It was about the Yurigelka House of Love and Mercy on the other side of the river. Yeah, over there I hear they get not only one. Sorry guys, I'm tired and terrible at reading. Over there I hear they get not only nap time but snack time too. Plus their president is a very nice person. The House of Love and Mercy was a privately run orphanage just like the one I was at, but it was a very kind facility unlike ours. It seemed like a fantasy land compared to our current environment. A few years before this, when this place was a lot worse, a few children tried to escape. It was hard to believe that there was a time when this orphanage was even worse to live at. Supposedly 3 or 4 people tried to escape. I don't know the exact number though. They headed to the House of Love and Mercy. Their escape was a success, except for one unlucky child. They were able to get to the property of the House of Love and Mercy. I guess the staff couldn't follow them into the other orphanage's property. Okay, in other words, the other facility's property had to be out of their jurisdiction. The staff were frustrated that kids got away from them, and they would drag the one they caught back here. I'm sure they wanted to bring back the others who got away from them too, but I'm certain the staff was determined not to let a single one escape. It was easy to see that determination in the obstinate way they locked the place up after the event. But they were never able to bring back the ones that got away. No matter how much the staff were mortified, they couldn't reclaim the children and punish them. In other words, if you could make it to the House of Love and Mercy, then you can escape the evil clutches of this hell. On the other hand, the one they caught went through such misery afterwards, yet the exact details of how he was punished were never passed down. All that remained were ominous phrases left by those who knew him at the time. The drowned ducky, the mashed caterpillar, the splayed piggy. I can't imagine what kind of punishments they were. The only thing I can say is that those punishments were supposed to be far more harsh than the casket punishment, which was the most cruel punishment I knew of at the time. I can only imagine how horrible those punishments were for their ominous names. Yeah, that sounds kind of pretty messed up, but okay. After that, the captured kid's wish came true, and he was able to leave the orphanage. He was able to leave the orphanage safely. and enjoys freedom while breathing in fresh air under the blue sky, or was he able to? Well, according to the rumors, that wasn't what happened at all. While he was playing in the boiler room, he slipped and fell, injured his brain, and died. What? Okay. The children were instructed not to go into the boiler room after that incident. Everyone knew that the boiler room was always locked. So everyone knew he was killed. And not just that, he was killed after being tortured. He was killed to teach the other children that they would face hell on earth if they tried to escape. Yet those who faced that risk and made it out obtained ordinary, average lives full of love and mercy's namesake, which were far better conditions than we lived in here. Maybe the House of Love and Mercy was really heaven. Maybe all the orphanages are pretty much the same. But compared to my orphanage, I bet anything else would have been better. Even if someone escaped successfully and the police would catch him, then he'd be sent back to the orphanage, which would be pretty much the same as being killed. However, if he could reach the House of Love and Mercy, they take him in. They wouldn't send him back. But talking about escaping to the House of Love and Mercy, we're trying to forget how cruel reality was to us. Then one day, the leader of our group, Eriko, said to us quietly, "Would you try to escape if you had a chance to?" We didn't want to escape from here. It was a rather foolish question, but that wasn't what she meant. If there was a chance to escape, would you take that chance not knowing that what you had to go through if you got caught? That's what she meant. Not one of us could simply answer immediately. If the previous escape incident was a total success, then we might have it thought differently. But after that, the orphanage had tightened up security to prevent runaways. All the doors and windows were locked heavily, and it wouldn't be all that easy to get out. Even if another group escape was planned, the success rate would be very low. 3 escaped and 1 was caught before. Maybe 2 would get caught next time. No, maybe everyone would be. If I could, I would want to escape, but the House of Love and Mercy is so far away. The bridge is long, too. We'll be all caught before we get there. Besides, we can't even go outside. Everything is locked up. There were locks all over the orphanage. To escape, you need a key for both inside and outside, and after the lights were turned off, even each section of the hallway was individually locked. Made no mistake, this was a prison. According to the rumors, orphanages receive government funding depending on the number of children they house. So if anyone escapes, they lose money. Also, if we were to expose the conditions at the orphanage, they would end up getting inspected and things would get complicated for them. That's why they were so intent on keeping us locked up. Sure, if there's a chance I would want to escape, but realistically, there's no way we could. Every door is locked. Well, did you know the hen house in the courtyard uses the same key as the door to the back stairs? Huh? Really? Shh, Eriko shushed us. Sometimes mass-produced locks take the same key. Of course, most places use different types of locks so that won't happen, but the staff at the orphanage must have overlooked it. So there were 2 locks that used the same key at the orphanage. However, most of us never had a chance to even touch the keys. But there were a few exceptions. One of those was the hen house. Each room group took turns taking care of different chores. If your group was assigned to clean the hen house, you'd have to get the key. You would have to get the key to it from the teacher's office. You were supposed to return the key immediately after you were done. But while taking care of the hen house, the key was in the children's hands. While the staff would occasionally come around to check, they couldn't keep an eye on us forever. Eriko-chan, you aren't thinking about using the key, are you? It's not. It's too dangerous. Of course it's dangerous if there's only one of us. But it's different if we're in a group. Wait, why? Do you know why only one kid was caught the last time they tried to escape? They were desperate, and so to escape as a group, they did something to increase the chance of success. That was why only one of them was caught. What did they do? They scattered as they ran. They dashed in different directions. They waited until the day when there were only a few people working at the orphanage and ran this way and that. And so, although it would all depend on luck, it would increase the chance of success for sure. On your own, you probably had no hope, but if the staff were to chase after other children, then your own chance of escaping successfully would increase. In other words, Eriko was inviting us to escape with her. The more children joined, the more each of our chances would increase. But among us, there were children who tattled to the staff for their own benefit, so she had to be very careful about who she talked to. Eriko must have trusted us a lot. Eriko, me, Tomomi, and Kikuko. 4 children. Do any of us want to stay here a day longer? The 3 of us shook our heads. But at the same time, we couldn't agree to escape with her either. Of course, we didn't want to stay here a day longer or even an hour longer. Even if we did exactly the same thing as we did yesterday, we might get yelled at tomorrow. I can't stand this anymore. I can't stand living in fear of what to do and what not to do, so I won't be yelled at. We all feel the same way. We could endure strict rules, but it was almost impossible to endure vague ones. It wasn't too much of a stretch to say that the rules depended on the mood of the staff. This is okay, this isn't okay. Such borderline rules change daily, and if we were to say anything about that, we would be treated horribly for it. I will escape even if I have to do it alone. Like I said, the more people that join, the better our chance. Think about it. If they find out about this henhouse ski trick, they are sure to change the lock on the back door. Otherwise, we only have one chance, so even if you regret not joining in later, it'll be too late. But I'm scared. I'm scared too. If we get caught, we'll be killed. Tomomi and Kikuko weren't the only ones who felt afraid. The fear was perfectly understandable because all of a sudden the fear of the punishment that would follow had become very realistic. I'm sure Eriko felt the same way too, but her courage was suppressing her fear. Because of that, she shared her idea with us. So, you plan to stay here forever? No way. I know you're scared, but this is the only chance we have. You have to be brave just this once. What about you, Miyoko? Do you want to go with me? Unlike Tomomi and Kikuko, I wasn't trembling that much. Of course, I was scared in my own way, but compared to the other two, I must have prepared rather calm. Can we really escape? Of course, Eriko couldn't guarantee your success, but I'd ask her anyway. There's no guarantee, but if you join me, I'll have a better chance of escaping than trying to run away on my own. Of course, the same goes for you, too. Eriko gave a calculated reason, but I'm sure she just wanted a friend to agree with her. That was probably more important to her than increasing her chances to escape. Tomomi Kikuko, if you're too scared, then I won't force you. Miyoko and I will escape ourselves. 2 is enough. Oh, well. Eriko rushed at 2 to make up her minds. It almost looked cold, but this is her way of mustering their courage, because it's very possible that regardless of the outcome of our escape attempt as our roommates, those 2 will be held responsible. It's not like we'll do it tomorrow. Our turn to take care of the hen houses in a week. We'll wait for the perfect time to do it. If we don't feel that it's safe, then we'll wait till our next turn. We'll be very careful. The rotation of the staff and timing were important, but we also had to know the way to the House of Love and Mercy. We were planning to split up, so we had to know the area. I made up my mind. Okay, I'm coming with you, but let's time our escape very carefully, okay? Of course, we'll be killed if we get caught. I don't want to die. I'll come too. Me too. Tomomi and Kikuko agreed, so we all decided to escape as a group. We waited for the perfect opportunity. We waited for the day where only a few staff members were at the orphanage, and we decided to let God take care of the rest. Okay, guys, I'm taking another few-minute break here to catch some breath. Yeah, I didn't really catch my breath that much from that break, but I don't have all night. Okay, so it's open. Maybe it was the way I did it. Eriko tried to open the lock several times without success, but I got it open on the first attempt. The back door opened slowly, and I felt a cool breeze. This wasn't the world of freedom just yet. In fact, it was the exact opposite. If the staff were to find out we're here, we could be in big trouble. It was a world of danger. But unless you went through that dangerous world, we won't be able to go any further. Okay, let's go. Unlike Eriko wanted to say that, we were planning to leave that as our cue, but what we heard instead was Eriko's voice. What are you kids doing there? We started to run. It was raining. We all got soaked immediately, and our clothes stuck to our skin. While that would normally be very uncomfortable, we couldn't even stop to think about that. We could only keep running in the rain. We were dashing on gravel, but it felt more like trudging through a muddy rice field. My feet kept sinking. I couldn't pull them up. I was frustrated because no matter how fast I tried to run, I wasn't gaining any speed. I felt a sense of urgency. I heard someone yelling, "Escape!" behind me, and all I could do was run like crazy. Okay, we're going different directions. Scatter. Come on, scatter. With Eriko's cue, we all went different ways, hoping they wouldn't come after us. Would we be able to reunite safely at the House of Love and Mercy? All 4 of us there together, or maybe someone would be missing. No, maybe everyone else would make it, and I'd be the one that got caught. My thoughts were interrupted by the voice of a staff member coming from behind me. Hold it, right there. The staff members should have number fewer than us, so if I was lucky, they wouldn't be coming after me. Praying that the staff voices I heard in the distance weren't after me, I looked back for a moment. If I had the time to turn around, why didn't I take another step forward? Why didn't I try to escape further? As I turned around, I felt a huge hand cover my face. Its pinky finger slipped into my mouth. The hand grabbing my face shoved me into the muddy gravel. Of course, I didn't stay quiet. I fought back, and then I saw his face. It was the scariest face I've ever seen. I realized immediately he only wanted to capture me alive to use me as an example, and considering what would happen to me afterwards, killing me here on the spot wouldn't be a problem, would it? Yes, he looked at me unworldly hate, ready to end my life here and now. His pinky finger ended up touching my tongue. This indescribable, nasty taste and icky feeling through my whole body. That's it. This is what I want murder to taste like. He was going to shove that finger down my windpipe and suffocate me, and so in order to live, I fought back the only way I could. You bite your finger off, didn't you? Something warm filled my mouth. It felt like swallowing blood after a nosebleed. I spit out my mouth and ran without turning around, leaving the step member clutching his pinky. You little shit, damn me, I'll kill you. I heard his voice echoing behind me. It wasn't a man that was after me, it was a beast. He had no interest in capturing me. His only goal was to see me dead. My shoes had slipped off. They weren't sneakers, but they came off easily while I was running like mad. My bare feet struck the gravel over and over. It was painful, but I didn't care, because if I stopped, I knew what would happen to me. And this is interesting. I'm liking this so far. Tree branches cut my face, and barbed wire scratched my thighs. My feet and toes were bloody, running on gravel. The blood from the step member's pinky finger dripped down from my mouth and steadying my chin and chest. I was running for my life with scratches and cuts all over my body. If I were to get caught, I would be killed. If my pursuer had any sense that I would be killed after being tortured. But if he didn't, I would be killed on the spot. I don't want to be killed. I don't want to be killed. My lungs and heart were about to explode. My mind was bleeding from fear and lack of oxygen. I was about to lose consciousness. I might have given in if I didn't hear the voice of the stepmother coming after me. My knees were shaking. My legs wouldn't move properly. I felt like I was going to fall like a puppet without strings, but I couldn't fall. I couldn't fall just yet. It was too late. My face hit the gravel. I felt the awful sensation of falling, and immediately after the roar of the beast coming from behind me. Damn me, my finger. Wow. I must have hit my thigh against the steering wheel when I jumped. I can feel throbbing pain delayed slightly. I'm sweating all over. I wiped the sweat up my forehead and put my hand on my chest, only realized how fast my heart was beating. I rubbed my thigh. I pulled it in a straight line. That's not where I hit the steering wheel. What? Steering wheel, what? Okay, was that a dream or something? What? Okay, I feel like this is where it hurts. I can't see a scary beast in the moonlight car. I have my shoes on. I'm not covered in blood. My toes are fine too. Someone knocked on my window, startling me. Was this like someone's passed in a dream? Major's time. Oh, thank you. I wanted to take a nap, so I told him to come wake me up in an hour. Maybe an hour was too long. Too long a nap actually makes you tired. I put my seat back up and got out of the car. The cold breeze feels good on my skin. I only see the moon. There's nothing else to see on this mountain trail. My car and command vehicle disguised as a trailer are parked on the side of the street. I can still feel that bad taste in my mouth. I spat it out on the side of the street, but even that couldn't get rid of it. The taste of blood, saliva, and rain slipped at my forehead and raindrops got into my mouth, but I couldn't swallow, so I ended up drooling. That sensation around my lips brought back memories that I tried to wipe my mouth. Maybe I'm nervous, and that's why I had such a bad dream. I think there's a coffee machine in the command vehicle. An unpleasant cup of coffee will wake me up. So, has anything happened yet? No, not yet. We just got Gifu scheduled check-in. Anything's okay over there. I see. Hey, could somebody make me a cup of coffee? Sure. Cream and sugar? Just cream, please. Oh, and please put some sugar, too. I still have a bad taste in my mouth. It's the feeling of biting and crushing this whole finger and this filthy blood filling my mouth. I'm sure a sweeter cup of coffee will wash that bad taste and also wake me up from my nightmare completely. Okay. Did we get any new tips for that? Okay, no, I'll say. Normally after the end of each part we get a new tip, but no tip this time. Okay guys, I'm going to end this video here. I want to thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next time.